And this sure looks like Trekland HQ. And we are live. So, who's on your Star Trek hiatus recruit list? Episode 291 of, yes, Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek, coming at you right here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 and all things Trekishly Treks. For the big picture, clarity and sanity in all things Star Trek. Welcome back for another Tuesday. I hope it's being a kind Tuesday to you as this new year keeps unraveling and, well, hopefully not unraveling, unwrapping itself. Yay. So glad you could join us. If you are new to Trekland Tuesdays Live, welcome. I'm thrilled to have you with us. I'd love for you to share in our chat where you are and how you found us if you're new. And if you're new, you'll already be seeing people popping in to say hi. There'll be folks from all over the globe. We've got a wonderful Tuesday TTLers community, all of our Trekland communities, my Portales in Portal 47. We still have lifers on our life support page talking from the podcast that I did with Ali Matu for 2 years in the pandemic, which is still sitting there. We're going to try to do some kind of a special event this upcoming. More on that later. But here we are on Tuesday, Trekland Tuesdays Live. Been doing this since 2017 when everybody said, Larry, just get on Facebook Live and do something. Don't worry about it being fancy. And we've slowly, as the world exploded in tech and online streaming, but I've been doing this for, will soon be 6 years. But we're glad to have you with us today. Hey, look, here's what's happening. Thank you for coming wherever you are. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, you're going to see all the comments in that chat. And please, chat up a storm. If you're on Facebook, you're only going to see your own, but you're the biggest group. So it's almost a wash. But here's the deal. If you are new to our show, I'm going to get off on a little topic today, a soapbox, you might say. And then I'll take a very quick break. We will look at the Parrot Analytics TV ratings. And then I will dive headfirst into the chat. So don't let me discourage you from standing up. I'm always looking for real questions, actually. And when I get to that point, I will back scroll. It's the most unique format in Star Trek YouTubing and podcasting. Hey, I don't do it unless, Trek Files is the only podcast with homework. And Trekland Tuesdays Live, you have delayed chat gratification. What is that? DCG? There you go. Now, I wanted to talk. If you saw the topic, it's my Ali gesture there. If you saw the topic today, who's on your Star Trek hiatus recruit list? I'm saying this because, of course, we've got still another month before we're back to Fresh Trek with the season 3 premiere, ostensibly the season finale season. We'll see. Of Picard. And the great TNG reunion that's more than that, and then some. Supposedly. We know so much about it already, but people have another month to go. And I've been laughing. I did this last time. It's been over a year. We're so spoiled now to have Fresh Trek all year long, even some weeks where it's maddeningly overlapping beginnings and ends of seasons. What's wrong with you, Paramount Plus? But here we wound up with 6 weeks since the end of Prodigy. And oh my God, number one, what are you doing with your hiatus time? I talked last week about some good ideas for how to fill your time. So I hope you got to vote in the Lappy Awards, the Live Long and Prosper Awards that Virtual TrekCon 3 is planning. They're tabulating now. You missed your window to vote, but you can sure join VTC in February. And Sunday night, the 19th, I believe, you can sure catch the awards. And I'll be doing an awards wrap-up show. 2 or 3 other great Trek folk. That's in the future. That was this weekend, but also this weekend. And I want to say it's actually not over. The Trek Talks 2, basically old school telethon for Hollywood Food Coalition. John Billingsley's passion project, and he gets passionate about a lot of things. This is one of them. He and his wife Bonnie have been involved. She's been on the board, I believe, even longer than he's been involved. And it's basically a wake-up call to the entire Trek community to come in. Last year, they raised a little over $80,000 with all the matches and things. This year, Thanks to Rod's gift. By the way, Roddenberry and Trek Geeks sponsor this in with John. John and the great Bonnie Gordon hosted all through the day, and there were a stream of panels. I wound up in the last hour with some visual effects and art greats. I had the Okudas and Dan Curry and Dave Blass from Picard and Doug Drexler in an all too short 20-minute window. But overall, the day was a success, a blast. Anson Mount and Scott Bakula were the headliners. Just a day of filmed pieces and mostly live panels. Wound up raising with Rod's gift of $50,000 and then his offer to double the live returns. They wound up with $106,000, although it's creeping up because here's the deal. If you missed it, you can still get there. You can still just Google Trek Talks 2. Go to the page. There's an app for donating called Give Butter. You can click on the buttered icon and you can still give, and you can still see the live tote board, which is minus all the gifts that didn't go through Gift Butter. All right. So if you missed out, you feel bad that you missed out, whatever, $5, $10, whatever it is, you can still pile on. And Rod's offer to double will still, your $5 becomes 10, your 10 becomes 20. So that's going to be there for at least a few more days, as I say this on Tuesday the 17th. I try to keep Trek on Tuesdays live evergreen, so you're not feeling so much the time. But this is one point where I think it's fine. It's fine if you're seeing it now, or even by the end of the week, it's fine to jump in. Now, everybody's jumping in the chat already. That's cool. Again, I'm going to circle back to this because my main theme here is, and I did this a year or two ago, what are you doing in the hiatus time, kiddos? And I'm going to give you a call to action, a CTA, as we say. That's not the Chicago Transit Authority. That is, what are you doing in the hiatus? Well, here's one thing, and yay for donating last weekend, yay for voting. Those were two things I came up with. Here's the thing. Who are you going to bring to the hiatus time, and when, and what are you going to do with them? Now, if you missed those two windows I gave last week, look around. You've got all kinds of seasons. Well, for number one, if Picard is going to be the next up and you have a friend, you have a family member that you think is ready for Trek, or maybe you want to test the waters and see. Maybe you've got 2 or 3 friends. Maybe you have a Picard rewatch, or maybe you do a highlights of Next Gen to get them warmed up for what's happening on Picard. I mean, the internet is full. There are all types of places you can turn to get some spotlight. I don't know. What do you do? I don't know if I'd show them the Farpoint premiere for TNG. The All Good Things finale might be a better one. Just cold. You know what I'm saying? There's been all kinds of pontificating the last 5, 10, 20 years about what to do to bring people into TNG, those episodes, or what you show them the best of Picard. That's an interesting debate. That might make a good second opinion, since I haven't done one since the end of Prodigy. My point is, that's an obvious thing to do to bring someone into the hiatus. But what else could you do? Look, if you're still looking for other things to do, maybe you've got local events. Do you have a club? Do you have a Facebook page or a group? Do you have something local? That's something you can do to take up your time, and maybe you can involve a new recruit. Now, don't get heavy-handed. Star Trek does not need heavy-handedness. Star Trek's been around for 50, are we going to say 7? Or are we just going to go ahead and say 59 and count the Cage? The Cage filming and writing from 64. Star Trek's had some kind of magic it. If you heard our Trek Files a couple weeks ago, Gene pontificated on what he thought the secret formula of Star Trek was. I think it was a product of its time. His speech, Star Trek too, but his speech was. But no, I mean, really, what's the secret ingredient that you use to attract other people when you feel like they're ready for it? Maybe that's even what you say. I don't know. Are you ready for Star Trek? Local events is what I'm getting at here. And now with the online extension, you can do all kinds of things. Here's another idea. Here's another bee for your bonnet. There's a brand new foundation in town. the Nichelle Nichols Foundation. And don't make the mistake if you go online of looking for nichellenichols.com or org. It's nichellenichols.foundation. I know it's a new way to get at it. The first event, yes, it was only announced December 28th. Okay, it's been in the works for a month. I'm very proud to be one of several folks on the advisory board, the board of directors. It's a nonprofit. It's a 501c3 here in the States. That's the IRS code for nonprofits. Nonprofit says that not only are they nonprofit, but when you donate, it's a charitable deduction, 501c3, just as the Hollywood Food Coalition was last weekend. The Nichelle Nichols Foundation, out of the gate, eventually wants to support all kinds of young people, women, minorities, anyone who needs a leg up in our system. Much the same way, everything that Nichelle Nichols, as well as Uhura, stood for or represented. And we're even going beyond the bounds of what you might think. Aerospace, STEAM and STEM careers, communications, yes, and also in the public sector, also in government, politics, culture, entertainment careers, all these things of benefiting. The exact same thing that Nichelle stood for when she jumped in and challenged NASA in the late 70s as it was prepping for the space shuttle. I hate to say this, but good thing the shuttle program, it was so complex and so many technologies had to be invented for reusable craft that landed like an airplane, especially those heat shield tiles. It was delayed 2, 3, 4 years. Good on her. It just happened that gave her a chance to jump in, challenge NASA to recruit an astronaut corps that more reflected America than, yeah, God bless them, the right stuff, guys. But our flight corps, our test pilot jockey corps of astronauts, the way it had always been. And she broadened, and true to the shuttle's mission, opened it up for scientists who could take astronaut adjacent training, non-pilots, which of course automatically means women and more people of color. So that's why we saw such a diverse range and so many firsts in the shuttle program. And tragically, some of them died on our 2 shuttle missions that we lost, Challenger and Columbia. Many of those, I think almost half the crew of Challenger were people that Nichelle recruited. Judy Resnick and Alison Onizuka and Ron McNair, to name 3 at least. Point being that all the things that Nichelle wound up working for and using her Star Trek platform for the good, and she did so much good that we can point at. And if you hadn't seen Woman in Motion, her documentary, you should. I think it's on Paramount Plus, if nothing else. That's what the foundation is after. And yes, we're going to be doing that monetarily as we raise money and supporting young people with scholarships and programs and grants. But speakers are also going to be a big part of it. And thanks to the foundation, to the pandemic, we can bring most of those virtually. And ta-da! One thing you can do in the Hiatus time is see the very first virtual speaker who's coming up Saturday, January 21st. For one thing, I mentioned Bonnie Gordon, the voice of the Prodigy computer, the Protostar computer, recently an officer on screen too, and just co-host of Trek Talks too. Bonnie is going to be the host and interviewer for Angela Dalton, who just released a children's book about Nichelle Nichols. It's called To Boldly Go, How Nichelle Nichols and Star Trek Helped Advance Civil Rights. And you may know a piece of that story. There's more to tell. And even more than that, this is a kid's book. So in the spirit of Prodigy, the spirit of Star Trek waking up and realizing its younger generation and that power, this is the first special event. It's free. It's on our YouTube channel for Nichelle Nichols Foundation. You can find it. Look, you can go to the webpage, nichellenichols.foundation. You can check out the Facebook page. You can check out all the socials. And it'll be free on YouTube. 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Pacific on Saturday, January 21st. That's 1 p.m. Eastern, I do believe. It's our old Live Support Live time. What an auspicious time to be doing it. January 21st. So, yeah, that's this Saturday. This Saturday. Check it out. It's free. Bonnie interviewing Angela. In fact, I do believe, let me just double check this. It's Angela. It's the illustrator, Lauren Semmer, and Dr. Sean Proctor, who is one of our foundation advisors from the Nichelle Nichols Foundations, to talk about Nichelle and the impact and what she did for Star Trek and the world using that platform. It's really cool. I'm very excited because it's our first foundation event. Wanted to make sure everybody knew about it. We'll have all the particulars there too. And if you're not following the Nichelle Nichols Foundation on socials, on Instagram and Facebook and all of that, please do so. Please do so. Again, we just launched December 28th on Nichelle's birthday. Still on the shakedown cruise here, but plunging right in, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, to boldly go. The author and illustrator of the new children's book about Nichelle Nichols and Star Trek and its impact on the American civil rights, on civil rights around the world. Stop saying we know the Martin Luther King story. And if you saw my post yesterday for Martin Luther King Day, we all know Nichelle's amazing story about Martin Luther King advising her, begging her, pleading with her not to leave after the first season because she had so little to do and to go back and work on her music and stage career. He said, this is something big and I can see it and you need to see it too. And of course she did. I just made the point in a visual that there's more to Dr. Martin Luther King's Trekkiness than his conversation with Nichelle, if you stop and think about the big picture. And not just on civil rights, but on uplifting all parts of humanity and how it echoed something Gene said. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. That's one thing you can do in the hiatus time. What else? Do you have something local, as I said? Something going on? Could you throw together a project? I don't know. That's one thing. Because we got 3 or 4 weeks to go. And yeah, the drips and drabs are dribbling out. There'll be more leaks, more surprises. I was thrilled to realize whatever you might have been disappointed by the plot of Picard season 2, my old friend, Terry Metalis, who was co-show running it with Akiva Goldsman, when they realized they were going to shoot season 2 and season 3 back to back, that fell on writing and production. And as Dave Blass was telling us in the panel on Saturday, they ended Picard season 2 on the Friday and started Picard season 3 on a Monday. And of course, in the art department and all the things like visual effects and art and all those related fields, costuming, wardrobe, prop, anything physical for shooting, you don't wake up one day. That stuff all has to be R&D'd. It has to be researched and prepped and built, assembled, checked out, tweaked. So you know that if they were shooting on the Monday or trying to shoot, they had been at work. They were overlapping their pay scales on all the prep departments. And it was amazing. That's one of the reasons why Terry got season 2 set up, peeled off, and began writing and working big time on season 3. So he feels less connected to season 2 than to season 3. That's all. We're all going to be talking about that over time. But that's why we've had so many leaks and drips and drabs. And that's why if you were bowled over, sometimes if not by the story, but at least by the look and feel of some of the coolest parts of season 2, you know, Dave Blass, one of the things I love about him was he's a fan. I mean, he's a fan. He has pictures of himself. Now we'd say cosplay. He's got pictures in costume. He remembers going to conventions, standing in line for Star Trek 4. He brings that sensibility to it on top of his professionalism as a production designer and a respect for that. And I realized now, famously knowing that he went back to the A team of the Berman era Star Trek folks, he had the Hiatus, he had Doug Drexler. Go down the line, Jeff Mandel and Alan Kobayashi. I mean, go down the line. Ben Betts on video, Monica Fedrick, who worked on the art departments of the features. He had those folks involved. He still had a full-blown art department. He didn't replace it with an 80s era sized art department, but he had them all doing projects. And as I looked at the panel we had Saturday of the greats plus Dave, I realized everybody had worked on Picard season 2 and 3. You're about to see the fruits of their labor unspool again. And if the Stargazer got you drooling. If all the cool in jokes and graphic fun Easter eggs of even the alternate future and then coming back, if seeing the Nomad craft, if all those ship plates and notice saying that Uhura went let her own ship was captain and went to the small Magellanic Cloud, the next Neo Galaxy next. If you enjoyed all of that, there'll be more of the same in season 3. And then I saw Dan, who's certainly not retired, but is not actively working in visual effects. But Dan's other passion is as a weapons expert. In fact, it reflects what he did in the military. It reflects what he did in other pursuits. And Dan Curry, designer of the Batleth and the Mechlith. Well, I'm not breaking this. It's not a leak. It's out there. Worf has a new weapon, the sword, the single sword. We saw those generic Klingon swords, the kind of thing that lower decks artists are now running around trying to draw again. The early years, the pre-Batleth days of TNG, you had all these random swords, and some of them got a spotlight moment, but as much as the Diktog dagger back in the movies got its spotlight moment, but they never had much background. Well, in that storied past, now we've got another named sword. It's a single sword. It's in his backpack. Yeah, he's a pacifist, sure. And it's the Kurleth. Curry with a C, Kurleth with a K. Yes, if that's not the right vibe. But my point is, it's a Dan Curry design. So yeah, everybody in that panel Sunday had at least a hand in some way in something coming up for Picard season 3. So if that doesn't get you excited even more than just, a bunch of actors getting back together, if that doesn't keep you excited for it, I don't know what will. So here's the thing. You're watching me. I'm betting 95% of you were a part of this fandom before 2017. Am I right? We may have had some fans who came in with the JJ movies. As shocking as that is to anybody who was around before 2009, I keep meeting fans who came to Star Trek with the Kelvin movies. So yay. I'm still waiting on that wave, and I've been reaching out. I have a Facebook page called Disco Was My First Dance. And the folks who came in with this current era of Star Trek. So you're excited to see the TNG reunion, but what about all the fans you may know or the fans you haven't met yet? Or the great unwashed who are fans of the Kelvin series, fans of the Kurtzman era, for lack of a better term, as diverse as that is now, as many flavored as that is on the Star Trek buffet. Maybe they've just discovered Lower Decks. And Lower Decks has so many TNG and Picard Riker moments, Q and all that. Maybe your Lower Decks people are the ripe group to bring over. All I'm saying is, you don't have to go find a complete newbie. You may have people you well know are adjacent. You may have totally new fans who don't have much of a clue. They see, they know Picard and Data and Riker kind of the way they know, Spock and Kirk. Maybe so. Maybe that's who you work on. I don't know. I'd be curious to see your ideas. I'd be curious to see if anybody has local plans. I know the screenings are coming back. Yay. I mean, do all the things. Be smart about it, depending on what's going on in your local area. But yes, is the time ripe to have good old public screenings again, sponsored? As long as somebody is paying the bill to Paramount Plus, we've stretched out all kinds of ways. When Discovery and then the very beginning of Picard started, we were still having our screenings down here locally in LA at the Improv Theater. That was a generation or two ago. It'd be wonderful to come up with something post-pandemic for that. But I know a lot of groups around the country are finding ways to do that live and online. There's a couple I'll say, but I'll let them pop up if they're here. But as you do that locally, there's nothing like having somebody drag them along. Okay, fine. I've got to kill a couple of hours. Sure, I'll go. I mean, that may be the easiest. Maybe you're having an online watch. Maybe you've wrangled and finagled that. Anyway, I'm curious. I'm curious. Maybe you're doing a rewatch to prep for the premiere. Those are all the obvious things, but they take a little planning and a little setup. But dare say the world is not stoked and ready for this. With what? Strange New World to come right after? We'll see. Hopefully, we won't have another blank spot in the year ahead, right? So you can kick it off. Whatever you're doing, you can kick it off this Saturday at 10, Saturday the 21st at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, to Boldly Go. Bonnie Gordon hosting, Angela Dalton, author of the new Nichelle Nichols children's book, How Nichelle and Star Trek Changed the World. Oh, wait, that's the Shatner title. How Nichelle and Star Trek championed civil rights in America through Star Trek. That's it. I think I've blown my, and you can still donate, being on the top of the pile, for Trek Talks too. And I'll just say real quick, Hollywood Food Coalition, you say, well, why should I give to something in Hollywood and LA? I have a local food bank right here. Very true. And I hope you do. And I hope you can do that. Heaven knows the need has not gone away, as was repeated over and over and over again. All the things that Star Trek pointed out and fought for, and I think the vast majority we're still grappling with. We have our ups and downs. We have our 2 steps forward. We have our 1 step back. What you're doing here with the Hollywood Food Coalition is helping them avoid waste in the Hollywood catering industry for all the shoots going on, the TV shows. And not just that, they're evolving beyond that. LA is a major city, so you're helping a big chunk of people. Also, Hollywood Food Coalition is partnering with other food groups around the country to share their knowledge and awareness and bring some of the success they've found. And no, I don't mean with the location film industry overruns in every city in the country, because that doesn't happen. Although, I don't know, Atlanta, New York, there you go. But just sharing the know-how and outreach. So yeah, it is bigger than LA in some ways too. But it's just a good feeling. And you're doing it in the name of Star Trek, which I don't want to be crass, but again, gives everybody a good feeling. But to the outside world, oh, look, here's those Star Trek fans practicing what they preach and what their franchise preaches. So it's all good. It's all good. I'm all good. I know you're good. I'm going to take a slight break there, but don't go away. I'll be right back. I'm not really breaking. I just wanted to remind folks that if you are watching us later on YouTube and you missed the live, I know that's the way it is. But if you've ever got a chance to join us at 1 p.m. Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, hey, 8 p.m. UK GMT time and 9 p.m. Central Europe. If you've ever got a chance to join us live, please do so and join in the chat. And even if you're watching us later, please leave comments below, all right, in the YouTube section. But otherwise, as you go away, just a real quick reminder, my site, we have 1 or 2 fun little questionnaires a month. I give you news about what's going on in Trekland, one of which is we're coming up on the cutoff for our special LA Away Days location site tours, 1-day tour in LA, set up to be the day before the the Star Trek official cruise leaves LA this time, not from the East Coast. I decided to offer this for all the fans who are cruisers who have never been to LA before and had a chance to tour. The day before and the day after, the deadline's coming up to jump in. And if you're not on the cruise, but you get yourself to LA or you live here, you're welcome to join us too. All right. We're still not full. I've still got a few seats, 2, 3, 4 more seats I've got for the first one. Look it up. That's at LarryNemechek.com too. And then, of course, before I go any further, I got to say thank you. Thank you to our Patreons starting off the new year. Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Ed Marie Siegel, Keith Rombach, Justin Porteous, Nathaniel Robinson, Andrew Jasimski, Pranakasha Productions, Gay Clevin Lundstrom, and Galinda Bruton. And our live wires, Halberd Gunn Johnson, Robert McLean, Alan Hoenzi, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, and Casey Shafsky. Thank you. Thank you, guys. They're just giving us, I have a very small scale Patreon. It's just $5 and $10 a month if you want to help my outreach. I'd like to think we're doing something a little not so on the nose that the rest of Trek Online is doing. Awesome podcasts and live shows as they are. We're going to be growing it slow but sure this year as well. And we've come a long way since. So thanks to be multi-streaming. Thanks, everybody. Patreon.com/Trekland Live is where that is. That's interesting. Huh. All righty. What's really interesting, I mentioned the great Dave Blass. Well, he's our guest on the Trek Files this week. The new one is up. We are talking about a 1987 document trying Bob Justman, Gene Roddenberry, talking about how to lay out the bridge and who would sit where on the D. It's exactly the same kind of thing that confronted Dave and his gang as they laid out the Stargazer and all the other Starfleet ships and basically any set that needs characters in it. What's at stake? It's another one of those how much things have changed and how much they're exactly the same. It's a wonderful time. Dave is awesome. You need to know him and follow him on socials. And you need to follow us too, Trek Files on Facebook. That's where our memos are every week. The Trek Files, just a hashtag. Podcast.roddenberry.com for all the other great Roddenberry podcasts. Sci-Fi 5 has been burning it up lately, as has Fan Addicts. And of course, the flagship Mission Log and Mission Log Live. Otherwise, I'm still Larry Nemecek on Mastodon as well as Twitter. It's Larry's Trekland on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe. And Portal 47, we've been pulling in new members over the holidays and since. I'd love for you to join us and deep dive Star Trek every week. No more post-convention blues because Portal 47 is like a mini-con all year long. Several aspects to the monthly bundle. It was great. We just had... Vince Dedrick. I kept wanting to call him Dennis Matalone. We've had Dennis Matalone as well, but Vince Dedrick was the stunt coordinator for Enterprise all 4 years. He's an awesome guy. Just loves sharing. And is, again, one of the folks that you rarely are going to hear from in print or on a podcast, much less live at a convention stage. And they all added so much to the Star Trek you know and love. And they bring their own photos too, which is awesome. So we're doing that. So everybody, it's great to share this Tuesday with you. Again, join us live if you can, if you're watching later. And if you're live with us right now, hold on. Just a quick break. But first, I got to say, stay healthy, do all the things, whatever you're doing in hiatus time and later. We've got some weirdness out there. Just make sure you're safe, all right? Do all the things. Stay woke. And you know, by woke, I mean be alert for the news you never know you didn't know. But at the same time, check the sources. Are they really a real person? Are they not a bogus troll account that's spewing stuff before you waste your time, which is exactly the game? We've gotten so much savvier the last 4 or 5 years. I like to think we beat down a lot of the troll game and who's funding them. Then we just have to see who's keeping us from knowing information in the first place. Yeah, that's where we are. We're going to get to our Star Trek future. Because I'm just saying, Trek well, everybody. Now, regular viewers of Trekland Tuesdays Live know that we always, historically, almost since the beginning, since the fall of 2017, followed the Parrot Analytics ratings. Thank you, John X, for way back in the day pointing me to this, because they're trying to measure, as the great shift to online streaming services began, and if you watch the Emmys, Abbott Elementary is like the dinosaur now. It's the only thing getting nominated and winning that's still on a commercial network, where they always, for decades, since the dawn of time, told you what was most popular, because the Nielsen ratings based on audience surveys, which were taken only to show the world what was more popular than A, more popular than B, so the ad rates for commercials could be charged accordingly. It's all a moot point with streaming services. Not only do they not have commercials, and there's no need for that. There's no need for it to be public anyway. And of course, knowledge is power. All the companies, Netflix, Yes, Paramount Plus, Prime, all of them keep it to themselves and let it out as it befits their PR. Someday, 50 years from now, we'll break into the vault of these things and know what was really going on, why all those Netflix shows were canceled. But for right now, in that void, Parrot Analytics, close to 10 years ago now, came up with, out of New Zealand, a way to measure, scour the internet, and give us some kind of a relativity to that. It's based on buzz, basically, glorified buzz from any source, fans or studios or critics. Parrot Analytics came up with the average demand expression as their metric for measuring this. And the last couple of years, they changed it, they tweaked it to say the average demand expression factor versus an average show. And they're measuring 600 of them. And they do this in every country around the world, most every country. And they release country by country results. The US results, top 10 anyway, are available every week. And those of you who are regular viewers here know the last 2 or 3, 4 months, things have gotten a little dicey. Those regular reports, which are free on their website, no big deal to me, because we're very interested to watch when a Star Trek series is fresh and dropping every week, premiering every week, if they're into the top 10, how they rank, how they stack up as a barometer for Star Trek. And the animateds, I'm sad to say, never buck up that high. Only the live action Star Treks, Discovery and Picard and Strange New, have broken the top 10. Although they're all in the top 2.5%. Even the animateds are always in what Parrot calls their outstanding category. Occasionally they're in the exceptional top 0.5%. But they've always been in their outstanding upper 2.5% of all these hundreds of shows. Now, we're coming off peak TV. There's a lot of hand-wringing right now with all the cancellations that we finally, the era of throwing money at the wall to see who can get subscribers, is that ending? Is reality finally catching in here with the end of the early boom times for the streamers? We'll see. Is the market going to shake out? Yada, yada. But for right now, a couple things are still clear. One, no Prodigy ever got into the top 10, just like no Lower Decks did, despite what it feels like we're talking about all the time. That's here in our fan circle, of course. But number 2, the last month or two, just at Parrot, they've been behind. They're changing the one person who does the report. This week, just if you've been following us lately, there are numbers posted to January 6th. Wait a minute. Wait a minute here. Oh, come on, gang. Boom. Oh. I could have sworn these said January 6th. Well, January 1st, which is still further afield. Interesting. Hold on, kids. I just want to check something. Scintillating live. It's okay. This won't be on the... Yeah, this says January 6th. There's some really... I'm going to trust these to say January 6th because the header for the story says January 6th, 31 December, January 6th. The graphic, yeah, it is. The graphic says 31 December to 01 January. Guess who forgot to update or had a typo? Basically, this is not exciting. The top streamers as a factor of the average show popularity. Stranger Things, 65.2% times the average show. It's Stranger Things, The Witcher, Mandalorian, Wednesday, Titans, Ted Lasso, Andor, Emily in Paris, Alice in Borderland, and Tulsa King. And then there's a little bit of commentary here that Wednesday seems to have peaked and they're dropping. In fact, all the numbers overall are down. So that's reflecting, this is the holiday. This is Dead Week they're measuring. And the week after New Year's. So people are holidaying. They're not online talking and buzzing as much. That's probably just a seasonal factor. But looking at what's Alice in Borderland and Emily in Paris have both, they're thinking peaked. Tulsa King seems to be back up on a thing. Saw a story of the day wondering if Tulsa King was bringing in more new subscribers than Star Trek is. Although you've had the animated series for the last two go rounds, that wouldn't surprise me as much as I love the animateds. And I've been in some discussion circles where they thought the two animated series were the actual best Trek of the last year. And yes, even over Strange New Worlds. Um, we'll see. We'll see what the new year brings. That was interesting. So I'm going to trust these numbers to be through the 6th. And for what it's worth, the overalls, SpongeBob at number 1, 78.7 times more popular than Game of Thrones. Then Stranger Things, the only digital in the top 10. Then Saturday Night Live, Walking Dead, Sesame Street, The Simpsons, Rick and Morty, The Flash, and My Hero Academia. So much for the parrots. I'm still hanging in there with following them because there's something. Picard is coming up, so we'll see what the blip, if they can keep the numbers constant, we'll see what that's happening. And yes, I did check. The individual show numbers have not been updated since the middle of December. Interesting. It's a data era. What's going on there, Parrot Analytics? Are they having cutbacks at Parrot Analytics? I hope not. So it's chat time, kids. And again, if you are new to Trekland Tuesdays Live, dive in. I love actual questions, but we'll see what's up with everybody. I'm just a little just here. I think we're out of the rains. It was wonderful and welcome, but we can take a break here. We'll see who all's here again. And if you're new, I will try to give you a shout out and say hi. We've got a lot of folks in. And all you guys and gals on YouTube, please like and subscribe while you're there. And even if you're not on YouTube, please like and subscribe too. Good to see everybody. Dominic, I have not seen you in a while, I think. So good to see you, Dominic Negro. Hey, everybody. And yeah, I'm back scrolling. Once again, thank you, Dave, for holding up the Twitch army over there for all the folks who are in. Tumor Boy's in with us again. Hey. Design me up a game. Nick. Hi, Tanner. I think I was talking to you, tweeting with you on the side recently. What are you doing, Stephen? You are watching a lot of DS9 during the Trek hiatus. I think I did say, Linda, the last I saw as of overnight Sunday into Monday, they had raised, combined with all the grants and matches and doublings, 106,000. So, which is a huge over the total take last year, which the total then was 80 something thousand. The Twitch army was rising there, Christoph. Thank you. Hey, Captain. It's good to have you with us. You're getting closer to pulling out the 2-volume encyclopedia, going through it with a highlighter to scratch out all the J-Trek and Discovery references. Now come on, you'll want those someday. Just to be able to talk about them, you'll want them. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer in a data sense now. Give butter, and they butter to people. Is there any culture that uses butter as slang for money? I don't know, Christoph. I didn't name it, but whatever. What are you saying here, Michael? Good to see you back. Best starting point is Way of the Warrior, DS9 season 4 premiere, designed to operate as second pilot for the new viewers following Worf from TNG. There's that, but Worf is the only TNG character in it, for that matter. So there's good night. Hey, Dave. You've been watching For All Mankind on Apple Plus. Lots of Trek folks involved in all 3 seasons that have aired just far. Exactly. Behind the scenes. There's the Akuda's work on that. Steve Oster, who was the line producer on DS9, is producer for that. There's more too. It's been a while since I thought. Let's see what's going on. The perfect entry point is the Corbomite maneuver. Okay. Well, I was for in a broad sense, interesting. I always thought that yes, the Corbomite maneuver is very Trekish. I always thought the Corbomite maneuver was the slowest episode of Star Trek ever. And of course, they're getting used to things. They're figuring it all out. It's the first episode shot after the two pilots. So there you go. Thank you, Dave. I'm excited you were excited about reading about the Nichelle Foundation. Just remember, everybody, it's NichelleNichols.Foundation if you're looking for the website. It's pretty easy to find otherwise. You can just Google Nichelle Nichols Foundation. You'll get it all there. What are you saying here, Melanie? MLK Day was nice in Modesto. The rain led up for the march and fundraiser dinner. You wrote your you wore your Star Trek 4 Final Frontier t-shirt. With the original cruise, you could point out Uhura and tell a few people how she and him. There you go. There you go. You're a walking billboard, Melanie. You were a walking billboard. Tell a few people how she met MLK and that he was a huge fan. There you go. This is true, Stephen. The Strange New World pilot episode might be a good intro to Trek to show new recruits because it feels very relevant. Yeah. There are references to Disco and Burnham that won't make sense, but that just reminds viewers it's a larger franchise. Very true. Very true. Howdy, Narda. I'm glad the Outback is checking in with us. Hopefully a strong signal from Australia. They were so global. Hey, Willie, good to see you. Christoph, Corbomite is your favorite episode ever? Really? Wow. Let's see. Oh, thank you very much, Narda. You Australians, are you on the other side of the date line or something already? Is it the 18th there? But thank you. Thank you for much. Hi, Sydney. I had not seen you for a while. Hope all's well with you and a happy new year. Hello, Donnie. Is this your first time with us, Donnie? Are you a newbie for TTL? That's great. Happy Enterprise Day. Hope everyone is well and also happy first day. Yeah. Happy Enterprise Day. We're talking about the premiere of Enterprise. That was a fall show. But you let me. Oh, it's 1701 for the. Yes. See, that doesn't ring in the States because we do 117. Yes, exactly. I should have led with that for the globals. Yeah. Thank you, Donnie. And did you just give away where you're coming in from? Somewhere across the pond, somewhere? Very good. Thank you too, Linda. Thank you. Here you go. What you did was the director's edition motion picture on HBO Max in honor of Enterprise Day. Very good. Very good. And even though Prodigy is your current #1 Star Trek show, what do you mean? Because that's what was showing, or you mean you're still comparing? Looking forward to the finals. Well, who's not? I think everyone. I think this is going to be a thing. Oh, sorry. I think everyone who has had disappointments with Picard 1 and 2, even though they have different flavors, is excited about season 3. No one's walking away like some other current Star Trek shows, I think. No one's walking away out of disappointment. Everyone's going to give it this second chance. And boy, Terry's been out there cheerleading as hard as he can. Melanie, wish you could go on the Trek cruise. There's not enough time to replace your birth certificate and get it. Oh, dang. There you go. Well, there's always next year. Well, apparently everyone knows this wheat but me. And okay, Donnie, so you have a fan club. Yay. I'm glad you could make it today too. Well, Stephen, this doesn't surprise me. See, you're under 50. You know a lot of folks who came into Trek in 2009. Yes. I wish they had a club. I wish they had a meeting spot where you could go and talk to them as a demographic group. Same thing with Discovery and everything else since then. You don't. Well, this is very helpful, Donnie. You don't judge those who hate the Curse Mirror story, nor do I judge those who hate the Kelvin timeline trilogy, for that matter. Well, we're getting to the point where there are a lot of people that are there's viewing the original series without context. We've got a whole thing here about how we view history with our modern eyes. It's like, oh, of course we've evolved. If we hadn't evolved and everything looked the same, we'd be stagnating. So of course we can hold ourselves higher than those who owned slaves, those who were maybe progressive in one era and still had blinders in another. We are ones to talk. We have a whole hell of a lot to go. So I know folks who look at the original series and you can't undo time. You can't undo six. My answer to them is go look at what else was on TV at the time. Yeah. Context is not just for kings. Mm-hmm. Hey, Kyle. Glad you're popping up. You joined fandom in 2021. Yeah, I mean, you hear that a lot with the actors, even. But from any era, from after the original series, obviously. And you ask them if they were fans or if they were, most of them, by the time we get to the 80s, would say, I was aware of Star Trek as a cultural phenomenon, but they weren't a fan. There's always one uber fan in every cast, it feels like. Like Armin and Max were big fans. Mike, Michael Dorn was a big fan. Tim Russ was a big fan as a kid. Hi, Rose. I hope things are well with you. All right. Okay, Michael. Your tabletop RPG buddies are interested in the Trek game that's out now. They're primarily D&D fans. I'm putting together a list of important. This may be my topic next week. Talk about things coming full circle. Star Trek is one. D&D is another. Tabletop games. Before there was the term tabletop game, and we needed a term in my own talk, I call them paper and dice games to distinguish between board games, roll the dice, and but paper, as in you're keeping your own notes. And of course, video games. And there's been a phenomenon. I need to do more on this, but this is exactly it. This is what I did. I feel like I did this 30 years ago because there was no way to role play Star Trek, or there was, but it was too dinky and clunky. The system was clunky. There was actually a system before, and I'm not talking about Starfleet Battle ship to ship. I'm talking about before the FASA system in the 80s. FASA. There was a book, and I've got it over here. Yeah, this is going to be another hiatus topic for next week. But this is cool, Michael. You're doing basically what I did in the mid 80s. And I did a planet-based and a ship-based game. We came up with my game buddy Cody came up with the system, and we worked together. Because back in the day, nobody I knew wanted to role play Star Trek, because whether I had to DM. They made me DM because if I didn't, no one would play, because they say, oh, you'll pull out some factoid and just ruin the whole scenario. You'll come out and wipe us all out. Or it was tough. We would argue something. Oh, no. A phaser pistol on wide field could do that, but you'd have 30 seconds before you drain the battery, or something like that. People were too intimidated about Star Trek, much less that I was there, I guess. And this was way back in the simple days. This was pre-TNG, kids. This is what I thought, although I would say I think Prodigy is starting to make inroads on that factoid, Captain. This is why I've been in a couple of discussion groups lately where they thought that the animated series were repping Trek better than the best of all. So if you want to get in a contest and comparative, there you go. But Christoph, you might have a long wait if you're waiting on a cruise that goes to Risa. Yeah, even Utopia Planitia. Well, you can get to Utopia Planitia. It's on Mars, the base. Here you go, Dr. Dave. I thought you might be one. In Phoenix, you're going to be doing a screening of Picard Season 3 premiere in the Marston Exploration Theater at ASU Temple on February 16th. So if you are in the Phoenix area, there you go. I'm also wondering if our New York fan friends are going to have some kind of an event. We'll see what they're doing. Well, Donnie, I certainly hope you're more than a Trekkie. That's a pretty good start on life. There you go. Here you go, Dave. Not Dr. Dave. I'm taking your doctorate away from you and saving it for Dave Williams. Dave. Hope you don't mind. But Trek Talk 2, the telethon was fantastic. Great cause to limit food waste and provide much needed food and community service with dignity. Yeah, and Hollywood Food Co. is expanding into other services that people need to not be unhoused, not to be homeless. Sometimes they're not mentally ill. They just are without means. And if they want to work their way back into the system, into society, there's some stumbling block. There's some bureaucracy. There's some paper they need. There's some document they need to do this. They need to prove something. They need a birth certificate. They need a social security, whatever it is they need it. And they just need a helping hand, and they haven't accessed the right thing, or they're don't know where to turn, or they're confused, or they're ashamed, whatever. And they're expanding into finding more ways to do that, too. And I would also say you're starting to see the drip. There are news stories. There were news headlines out of some of the panels. If not news headlines, then some history notes coming out of some of the panels. Narda, I'm so sorry to hear that. Truck well, be well, and good health to you as soon as possible. It's not fun. That is not fun. And of course, we've got Duralta here from Germany. I don't know. You're still talking, so I don't think you're late. Yes, great panels. And thank you, Rose, as well. Well, let's not call him late. Let's say he's delayed. Hello, Timothy. Good to see you. Is this your first time with us on Tuesday? If not, I don't recognize your name right off, but maybe you've jumped in before. But thank you. You will get to LA one day for an LA away day. Do you go to the Vasquez Rocks place, the Griffin Observatory? Can't think of any. Well, I'll tell you, Timothy. Number one, what's special about the cruise day is a special pre-planned one that I've done. It's a basics. And yes, we're going to go to, Vasquez Rocks. Not Griffith, but here's the thing. Before Picard Season 2, there were over 40 places of the live-action Treks. Now, the Canadian era around Toronto has led to, a shift there. If not for Picard, we would have no new LA shooting places since the Kelvin movies until the next one that happens to be filmed around here. But thanks to Picard, we've expanded the list. Now I'm sure there's close to 60 film places around greater LA. And of course, there's places in San Francisco as well. Fictional as well as real life. So the away days is my name for the planned ones that I try to have at certain times. But any time of year, if you're in LA, what we call Trekland Treks is a customized. Here's the list. Let's work it out. Is it a weekday? Is it a weekend? What time of year is it? What do you want to see? Do you need your basics? Do you want some obscure? Do you want a mix? And I pick you up. It's a small. It's your 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people, whatever your small group is. If you got a group of 8, we'll do that too in a van. But normally it's for folks who are small or their family. And I just pick you up at your hotel, and we have the 6-hour day, and we're back. And with the swag, and with the cosplay support, and the prop support, and the photo support, and all the information, your takeaway souvenir info, and all of that. And that's a trek. So don't worry about the event days. If you come to LA and you want to do it, reach out and we'll set you up with what you want to do. with my guidance. Okay. It's your own unique custom away mission. And I'm glad you popped in today, though, and hopefully you will keep hanging around Trekland even virtually as well. See, this is the confusion, Duralta. See, no, it's the 18th. It's not Enterprise Day. I've got the Aussies coming in early and people doing their early wishes. But thank you. That would have been too much if I was born on Enterprise Day on 1701. Right. Okay. My shirt looks like a Borg cube. Yeah, it's been a while since I wore this shirt. I just thought, because at first when I saw it, it reminded me of stars and constellations. But yeah, I think someone has mentioned that it looks a little Borgish. You want to know something, Christoph? My mom told me hunts him ever since LOL. Yeah. Actually, I was a month late. I should have been born in the calendar at the time. They were looking for me in December. Another spam call on 5. Let's see. Hey, Frage. Good to see you, man. Checking in from Trusted Sources HQ. John Frage, everybody, from Star Trek Unlimited. Go check out the cool, geeky stuff. John Frage, the supplier of the Tom Paris plate and many more. I wear my sciences robe. I don't call it a Spock robe because in my heart, I'm wearing McCoy's robe ever since. But so much cool stuff. Good to see you, man. Happy New Year. Yeah. Wait, what? The Portal 47 is like a Millennium Falcon when turned sideways? No, that's a Matt Jeffries. That's a Matt Jeffries arch from original series. That's a token alien arch. Yeah. Is it a doorway or is it a vortex? It's a portal. Oh, I wish I could monetize the amount of time and thought that went into that sucker. And all the people that said, this doesn't mean anything to anybody. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Hey, Allie, good to see you too. Speaking of the Dateline and the other side of the other pond, your Trekland check-in from the Daystrom Institute in Okinawa. I am, and you too, Trekwell, of course. I know you're out there. Speaking of filling up your hiatus time, I hope, is Okinawa going to get everything? I guess Picard is still going to be on Prime. Anyway, that's one thing. That's why I love having a global community. And we talk about this when we have our European Ask Dr. Trek Roundtable edition in Portal 47. I always check in to make sure we're getting the global awareness of what's happening with Star Trek, especially when you get into the jumble, this checkerboard quilt of who's doing what. It's not so pronounced. Paramount Plus was annoying when they were starting to roll out, but at least there'll be a little uniformity now. And we'll see what happens with Picard, or a spin-off if it happens. If it sticks with Prime or rolls into Paramount Plus. I'm gonna guess they're gonna wish it was Paramount Plus, but we'll see. Anything past that. Absolutely, konnichiwa. One thing I remember from my 4th grade reader in grade school, there was a story that I think one of the opening lines of the story was, konnichiwa, welcome to Japan. Let's see what we got. All right. Okay. Got to head out. I bet you're heading out before we got back to live tag, so hopefully you can read this later, Donnie. But thanks for finding us, and spread the word, and like and subscribe and all that stuff. Thank you for bopping in. Don't be a stranger. Okay. What is this? Is this 7th Rule or Netflix and Chill or whatever? There you go. Tulsa King fan. There you go. In the Outback. Absolutely. And boom. Okay, so see, I've caught up with the backlog. Thank you, Christoph, for marking the needle. Glinda, you made it. Yay, yay, yay. Well, it's a cautionary tale. It's like a Star Trek metaphor story, allegory story, writ large. Like what, 5 seasons? 6 seasons? All from her original novel? Yeah. Who knew? Who knew? Who knew? Is this aimed at me, Christoph? Was there a particular event, teacher, circumstance that got me interested in history? No, not too personal. I have a memory. We had World Book encyclopedias. My older brother is 10 years older than me. And then I have a brother 4 years younger. And I just remember one day in the 3rd grade. I mean, my mom and dad were Depression era, World War II era parents. And my dad was not a silent veteran, I know when Patton came out about 1970 is when he started to talk more, but he was never like shut down about it. He would mention it at times. And I was young, I was little. But I remember him starting to talk, my older brother getting him to talk more about it. But I just feel like I always, just having parents with things of their lives and grandparents who, especially close to my mom's grandparents, my maternal grandparents, the Reynolds. And they weren't like Victorian houses that reeked of antiques, but some of the knickknacks and just mementos and things. I never, in part it was the time, nobody had thrown everything away from mid-century peg leg furniture totally. But it wasn't stuffy old Victorian overstuffed stuff either. I don't know. I just remember feel like being in a cocoon of historical reference, but of course it was just generational. It was just a generation back. But not, being aware that there's stuff happened before I was born. I feel like a lot of people grow up and think nothing happened before they were born, and they don't go, and either they didn't have parents that gave them that, or there wasn't even the atmosphere that they breathed. I don't know what. It's one thing I did for my kids. I made sure my kids were not map illiterate. You'd hear all those stories about, I can't find the US on a globe. It's like, oh my God, my kids are not going to be that way. And they're not. But it wasn't overt. But I do remember going through our world books, picking out the UV volume and looking up United States, history of. I can still tell you the layout of it. I remember that there was a revolutionary black and white woodcut painting, although there were color plates in the thing at the time. But I just remember reading that and being engrossed by the people and the places and the dates and the order the states came into the Union. And every president had a little chart that said events during so-and-so's term. And my dad, one of the salesmen, would bring, we got little paperback books and it was coming into the 68 election, and had a little thing that had all the president's pictures, and then it had details about how the electoral states were by the states and the recent votes and all that. And I know my mom got me the Reader's Digest huge These United States. It was a gazetteer and it was a gazetteer. It had tons of maps and charts and plates in it. And my favorite was the section that had the states by elections from George Washington all the way up, and how things shifted. And and then how the United States grew. And, it was kind of innocuous when you're a kid. Now I would like to go back and look at the morality of some of those things, but start with the original 13 and the Northwest Territory and the Florida Purchase and Texas and the Louisiana Purchase. And just knowing all that. And then I was a map nerd and did all that stuff. And it was just a huge thing between the geography, not geography as in what's the greatest cash crop of this country, but the geography as in maps geography. And then the interweaving of maps and history, and then the people and that things were not just dates and time. And then my mom and dad lived the 20s and 30s, and then later on I got obsessed with the 20s. And there's a great book called Only Yesterday that's written first person through the 20s. And then by the time you're in high school and you're a fan of Will Rogers, then he's all about the 20s and 30s too. And then I discovered swing music, and that's all. Not only is it the music, but everything is referential to the 30s and climbing out of the Depression and World War II. Anyway, so yeah, that's where, and for some reason, in a simplistic way, I can remember pulling out that, obviously it was, the path was laid before, but I remember pulling out that UV volume and looking up United States, history of, and just going, I just was a sponge. Third grade. It also helped that we had a 3-channel universe, maybe 4. I lived not out in the boonies, but when you're 6 and 8 and 10, you might as well be. We were in a rural subdivision. We were in the rural suburbs, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes from town. It wasn't horrendous. 5 minutes from a small town and 15 minutes from a large town, small city. So we weren't isolated by any means, but lots of spare time to fill my time up with. Yeah. That was way more than you wanted to know, wasn't it? Exactly. Right. I do remember making little Humphrey, all the way with HHH. Because I guess somewhere in my memory, all the way with JFK and all the way with LBJ. I made little posters and put them around our house. I do remember that. So I guess the person would be just my family cocoon. I don't know, but nobody said, you are going to sit down and read this and enjoy it. I totally found it on my own. Hey, Allie. Have there been little hints out there about Ro Lauren? I mean, she'd be perfect. Her character would be perfect for the modern. I mean, she was so against the grain back in the goody two shoes 80s and 90s that she'd be perfect. You know, Ro Lauren was pre-invented. She was ahead of her time in Star Trek storytelling. She was the first rough edge that Next Generation got into in a big way. But haven't they been dropping some hints about Michelle Forbes? And of course, and Michelle is totally over the, I've done Star Trek, I don't be typecast. She's done Galactica. And she's at a point in her career where she would be thrilled to come back and do that. Yes. So fingers crossed, Allie, okay? 106,000. Wow. Yeah. Now that includes, so take 50 away from that. No, wait a minute. Take 50 away. That gives you 76. 38 and 38. So, yeah, 38 and 38 is 76. Add 50. Boom. That's so you go to the counter, it'll say 38,000. You double that from the Roddenberry double match, and then you add 50 and you come up with 106. Hi, Ian. Hello. First time with us? I'm not sure, but glad you could join us. Yay. Oh, you cried. It was a great, and there were some funny bits. I will tell you what, the set piece, and I donated that sheet they blew up. I got it for them, but that they were featuring. So good on David. But that John Billingsley with Will Wheaton did a set piece. So they went out to the first day of filming on Next Generation, which was the only location from the TNG pilot, which was at Ferndale in the creek, you know, when Wesley falls in the water and Data lifts him up. Data starts off by whistling and Riker finds him. They did that, and it was so well done. It was so natural and so well shot and edited. And I was like, wait a minute, David is working on this. David Livingston, I bet he filmed this. And lo and behold, you hear his voice. I was about to ask him, ping him. And then at the end, you hear his voice come in, John, they need you back in the studio. And I'm like, yep, of course that was David shooting that. So it was a really, really good case. Okay, sorry for the history sidebar there, gang. Okay, true, but Chief O'Brien, I don't think is turning up in Picard. That's what I meant. I don't think he's turning up in Picard season 3. That's what I meant. But you're correct. Obviously, yes. Let me see. Your Star Trek pilot, to show everybody, would be the best of both worlds. Not bad, not bad. The Borg are such an injection there that whether you know Trek or not, they're so engrossing. Even on you gotta put on your 2022 eyes. If the person you're bringing in to watch it, are they the same age as you, or are they younger? If it's a younger viewer, until they're used to the pace of even 90s Star Trek, if they're big on, if they love watching shows and sitcoms from the 90s, then it's okay. But if they're really not, if their bubble doesn't extend beyond 5 or 10 years ago, then you have to get them over that. It's like getting over streaming before you could do anything with Discovery or Picard. A lot of people's problems at the beginning of modern Trek were just having to pay for it. Yeah. Well, I know Gowron is not going to be in Picard season 3 unless it's a holodeck flashback. Boom. Yes, and somebody had to remind me. Just a stupid American that forgets that. Yep. Your favorite TOS episode. Okay, that's interesting. See, to me, TOS is unformed and early and slow. I mean, Corbomite Maneuver is unformed and slow. And Spock's Collar and Nichelle in Gold. And everybody takes so long to talk. Well, thank you, Ian. You picked a great time to bop in or bop in again. Yeah, Emissary was kind of amazing. Yes. Thank you, Christoph. No, I think I'm going to double check this because I just did, but I am almost sure. See, the what I see is Nichelle Nichols Foundation. Maybe they have an alternate. I for sure can confirm Nichelle Nichols Foundation. I did just before we went on. But you're right. If you go to nichellenichols.com, it's a hack worthy place that you'll just get ad after cautions. Don't let those scare you or think that they don't know what they're doing. See, Michael, this is the thing about looking back at anything in history. It's always of its good, bad, or indifferent. It's always of its time. And if nothing else, we have to be aware of where we are now and put that factor in. Of course, the people that don't accept anything as real if it's not in 4K glorious color, high def, they don't have this issue. But when you get beyond the obvious, if there's a video record of it, we say, Melanie, to recruit new Star Trek fans, and I don't mean recruiting like go bonk them on the head, but if you've got folks that you can get under your wing and bring in, that's what I'm talking about. This is a perfect time to take a breath when you're not engaged, when we're all not engaged with the details of the week. Take a breath, and while you're taking a breather for yourself and maybe reviewing or doing something fun adjacent, include others, share it with them. That's all I mean. TOS for purist's sake, but some people want fancy special effects, less cigar for stirring character content. Well, I wouldn't want to trick them into thinking it's just Star Wars. Thank you, Dave. Boom. Nichelle. 'Nichelle. 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 Oh, JR, hey, our newest portal member, JR, newest portale. During telethon, the live chat, somebody mentioned Archer being president. Yeah, you could pitch your Star Trek West Wing with Archer. I could, and that would be interestingly historical. I wonder, but that now you're into the decades pre-Kirk. And maybe it's interesting to do that, but I just feel like Discovery kind of got in and wallowed around in that weirdly, and now Strange New is still kind of in the same curve. And even if we were like 30, 40, 50, 60 years ahead of that time, I still feel like it's leading into that. We could. I'd like to see that, if not in the current Picard era, that could be a pickup for when Picard itself goes away, and you're right there in 2402 or 2403, and you're right there on the cutting edge doing that. And you're recovering, the things that have been the most developed. It's only been 15, 20 years since the Dominion War. Voyager's come back. The Delta Quadrant has been more open now than ever. The events of Prodigy and Lower Decks, especially Prodigy, have played out. Or we could be quaint and go back to that time. I just like to have a Romulan War, founding of the Federation, before I worry about my cool idea here. This feels like a status quo series, not a historical groundbreaking series, is what I'm saying, if that makes any sense at all. Well, this is true, Christoph. The ideal lock-in show, and it might be a movie. That's true. I thought that Mars burns until this day. Hi, Brian. Well, not now. That's in the future, Bucky. Get in the future. Get your ass to Mars before it's too late. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gatekeeping is the least Trek thing ever. Yeah, but as I've said many times, the original Star Trek media cons that begat Comic-Con culture were the result of gatekeeping. Maybe they were inevitable, but the old lit snob fans didn't want the Trekkies crashing the old school lit sci-fi cons. So because they were being outnumbered. We've been doing this for 30 years just fine. Where have you people been? Oh, fine. You're going to show up now and take over? It's the way of the future. The future. But yes, absolutely good statement, Michael. I never understood that either. Yeah. Now, if you feel like you're threatened because but if there's no attacking going on, and even if you do, you can just chalk it up to the other person maybe feeling fearful or young. Just young and inexperienced is another thing. Did I see the tweet mentioning the Star Trek parody movie Raumschiff Highlander? Has it been out for a while? Is that something brand new? I'm not sure. Yeah, this is really sad, Christoph. I'm gonna consult and see what the hell is going on. Somebody must feel like there's some really that there's fertile ground to take advantage of, and they're trying to do it. Yeah, this is the you're all fans. Some people want to super. Yeah, these are the people. And it's like anything else. This happens in basket weaving and quilt guilds, in stamp collecting clubs. Sometimes in groupings, ego takes over. In the old days, you would have a club split, like Baptist churches, and someone would run over here and start a new club, or they'd run over and start a new Starfleet chapter. Or somebody would make themselves an admiral for life. And there was not like annual election of officers. It's just the way it was. And sometimes Trek fandom, like any kind of a popular hobby or pursuit, interest, can wind up being somebody's platform for alleviating their insecurity or their ego, whatever. So that unfortunately, you come across that in fandom, but you come across it in everything. So I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying, don't condemn fandom because you kept running into megalomaniac little fan boss Nazis. That's going to happen, and it's just best to watch the warning signs and see what happens. There you go. Yes, JR, one day you do have to get out. Now you can volunteer for Hofoko by helping them out. But yeah, you could certainly do that. And I could help you on both counts. And thank you for saying so. Let's see. There you go. Real super duper fans are the ones who are the most welcoming. Yeah. Depends on what side of the definition fence you're standing on. Hey, Stingray Travel. Here, look at you showing up and being on YouTube. Do I remember knowing about Star Trek IMAX? Reported on Star Trek Communicator, June 1997. Rick Berman was going to produce a 40-minute Trek adventure written by Hans Tobis. That I remember that flying by, and I think somewhere along the way, the kick in of, I think that got lost in the shuffle. Now, whether there was funding for it that went away or what the production was going to be, I'm going to look into that. I'm going to make a note of that and look into it. That was right before I started as editor in April '98, and I did a guest issue before that, a tryout issue. But I do vaguely remember this, and I vaguely remember wondering what happened to it. But there was so much going on. That was the year after. That was probably boosted by First Contact. It was right in the summer. They were trying to get the damn experience finished in Las Vegas, and that was sucking up a lot of external time aside from producing the two shows. And and they were working on Insurrection because the village washed away in the El Nino of '98 and had to be rebuilt, the Baku village. So right in that time frame, everything was blowing up big for Star Trek, but it was a crowded field. And I bet Dave Rossi would remember something about that too, since he was Rick's contact for licensing and special projects and things. Let's see. Have some of the books for Modifius's Trek RPG, but never got to play. Planning on a campaign of and stuff, life support live in a pandemic, of course. Well, it's still there, you know. It's neither a doorway nor a vortex. It's a Stargate. No, there is a Did you not see? Do you see the blue? There's a there's a vortex inside there. Just so you know. And I would correct you, since the Iconians came with Next Gen second season, that would have been 1988. I think you have it backwards. I think the Antisents or the Anisents or the Ancients. The Ancients who built the Stargates are like the Iconians. I think you want to flip that. Hello, Mona. Glad you could make it. Yay. A question, since before your sun burned hot in space. Do I know if the creators of Star Trek and the Iconians went to the creators of Star Trek? You were with me then. I don't think so. They let the whole DS9 Babylon 5 thing blow over with, I think it was more the fans pointing fingers because the creators had more to get off on, and they evolved differently anyway. Scott, where have you been? popping in late like Deralta, but I wanted to get this link in there for Larry's Trekland Treks. This will show some other locations in the LA area to give you some ideas. Oh, thank you, Scott. Thank you. I finally did a video with some basic places. So, yes. Thank you, Scott. Boom. There it is. Hey, Lawrence, thank you for asking this. Are there plans to update seller cartography to all the new show updates? I have to check in on this. I checked in right before the pandemic, a year or so after the 2018 came out. And the publisher said it wasn't about the number of shows and density. It was just, they were just going to let it run. So I actually need to check in on this, and we will see what's going on. And what's happening now? What is going on here? Boom. Here we go. Okay. So John Connor, the real John Con on the side is saying, I refuse to classify people as not real fans. We don't get to make that definition. It's self-soothing, not all nonsense as far as I'm concerned. Well, yeah. Define real fans. If you want to say I'm someone who never read or never watched, okay, then that's what you are. That's a description. It's not your box. A fan that's a bigoted asshole is still a fan. They're just also a bigoted asshole. It's our responsibility to make and maintain fan spaces that don't tolerate bigoted assholery. And continue the scientific research. Sorry, Lawrence, that was not real. That was John's something. Yeah. So to answer your question, Lawrence, with hope, we'll see whether it's the same format or something different happens or whatever. And I hope to be involved with it. We'll see. But John was saying it's our responsibility to make and maintain fan spaces that don't tolerate Bigfoot. Yes. And to keep pouring on the scientific studied research, peer-reviewed research. And so why are those kind of people Star Trek fans anyway? How are they so, is the pew pew in Star Trek is not that big a deal. It pales in comparison to Star Wars pew pew. In space battles. If that's your thing, how did you ever find it in Star Trek? For the most part. At least until, like they did a Million War Days and then the JJ budget movies. Let's see. J.R. Poole. Do you like big band jazz? Okay, JR. Yes. What? Okay, we got rid of almost all of our vinyl. I saved a few vinyl pieces. I don't know. Do I look at my phone music playlist? Here. Here's my a swing playlist, okay? Okay? Yeah, I have the complete, when it was on vinyl, the complete set of the complete Glenn Miller over here. And, yes. Yeah. In fact, it wasn't a favorite song at all, but it was just in my head of all the songs that come across or whatever. But when the pandemic started, the song that got into my head was You Turned the Tables on Me, Helen Ward singing with Benny Goodman. And it was really weird. It got stuck in my head. And for the first 2 or 3 months of the pandemic, I could not get rid of it. And I realized early on the whole thing about you turned it like everything is upside down, right side up, like life is completely inverted. And I just always thought it was really funny how somewhere along the way, I didn't hear it and stick to it. It just popped up in my head one day. And anyway, but yes. And again, in that I don't know, seminal time, 7th, 8th grade, rock and country were both we were just drowning in it. And I was so hungry, and my mom was astonished. And as a lark, one day she got me, and I've got it over somewhere, I don't know, Time Life Books did a recreation of big band recordings because they were all scratchy 78s now. And they put out a demo plastic record. And I played it. And she's like, here, this came at the office. It's this thing, she wasn't going to buy it, but it was a free record. So she said, here, I thought you might enjoy this. And I played it, and it blew my mind in a time when your mind is being blown to set you up for adulthood. And I was like, this is like nothing. I mean, I intrinsically, and again, it goes back into that 30s, 40s era, and that I was already starting to kind of really appreciate and enjoy. And it wasn't because it was my folks' time. It was just cool and different, and wasn't, I don't know, the music was so different from either rock or country. It was like, it just blew me away, swallowed me up. And yeah. And I started wanting Mom to buy me albums. And she was like, really? Really? Anyway, that's a whole long thing. Shuttlepod has really evolved. Connor, and Connor sure loves playing James Lipton. That's cute. They're expanding beyond Enterprise, as you would do, like Seventh Rule's expanding beyond DS9. It's been interesting to watch the ever increasing sophistication of our celebrity YouTube shows. But cool, good on them. Good on them. It's when you see actors realizing that they're always going to have this Star Trek thing, regardless of what they think. Even if they go on to do Professor X, or even if they go on to direct, or do a million other things, the Star Trek world is not going to forget them. And after a while, it's like, why fight it? You're secure in your own skin. You're good. You're good. Let's see how we're doing here. Well, that's interesting, Mona. Never into history until you discovered the little books about the 6 wives of Henry VIII when you were 17. Okay. You came in through that back door. That's a little further back than I did, but this is my thought exactly, Dave. Isn't it fascinating what gets us interesting? That's out of the blue. Did my parents tell you if I heard the War of the Worlds ought to play? But my dad, I never talked to either one of them about it. I remember hearing this. I mean, I was a kid, and it was obviously decades later, but I remember not knowing about the War of the Worlds radio play and being like 8, and some station was playing it on Halloween night again, or Halloween Eve, and I was weirded out, terrified. I wasn't old enough to realize not only was it radio culture from 30 or 40 years earlier, but that, the recording quality wasn't great. It had scratches and pops in it. No, my mom would have been a little kid. No, they didn't. I was going to say my dad's family was either too poor to have a radio, or they were out working, or they were exhausted and asleep. But I don't know, or not in control of the radio, and it would have been on music or something. David Livingston is, yes, he's such a interesting guy, and has grown into whatever. Yeah. You always loved encyclopedias. You couldn't read Dick and Jane, but you could read those anatomical overlays. Yep. Oh, hey, Ian. I'm sorry about memory and blur. Very good. Well, then thank you. Thank you for being part of Trekland and enjoying what we're trying to do here. Favorite Star Trek you watched, enjoyed watching was TNG and Deep Space Nine. Awesome. Well, I don't know that I've seen you. You've been with us here then? Okay, well, it's been a while maybe, but glad to see you. Glad to have you around. Okay, Rose. Good evening then. Top chat. Da-da-da-da-dum. Yes, Narda, and I will only say you could see nothing but good about it. And I'll just say, remember, part of our blinders is not what we don't see, but what we do see and where we've been. And you're bringing the experience of all these years of knowing that it was progressive in its time. Just trying to see things through younger, later, I'll say later eyes that didn't have the introduction that we did. But that's the way everything is. That's the way everything is. That's why context is not for kings. We have to keep making it fresh for people to understand. We have to do that for the 80s and the 90s. This is all true. Archer was said to be president of the Federation. Stacey Abrams was president of United Earth way in the future. Yeah, no conflict there. Okay, they have they've updated it, the parody from the late 90s. That's what I was thinking. It wasn't new, but they've updated. Oh, updated effects for a fan parody. Okay. Well, thank you, Christoph. This was something I wasn't aware of until just recently. They finally quit saying Czech Republic, and now they just say Czechia, like Slovakia and Czechia. Czechia, that's interesting. That's absolutely true. Nemeček is Czech. Means small German. And what I found out was, I saw that and I was like, really? It means people who, not a small German, but people who could speak. It means a little German, but not a little German height-wise. It's people, it's Czechs who could speak a little German. So they have a little German blood. They speak a little German. That's what it isn't about size or height. Of course, it's all meaningless today. I can speak far more German than I can speak Czech. But it was really interesting how just genetically it was easy for me to travel around in Czech and in German. I guess part of it was the fate, like, linear. I have a lot of German and a lot of Scotch Irish too. So no Native American. This is a thing, Melanie. You'd be amazed how many more people I find. Many more people, mundanes. If I have something of Star Trek on or on my phone, how many more people will stop and say, "Oh, Star Trek." How much more the neutral position is to be, "Well, that's nice," versus 20, 30 years ago when it was like, get them out of here. The default has totally shifted to at least a neutral positive, which is really interesting. And I could tell you the years that I had a default. My case was a cheapie from Into Darkness. I had a STID cover on my phone, and the checkout person at the grocery store would be more conversational about it than any Star Trek fan would go, "Larry, do you know you've got a Into Darkness cover on your phone for 3 years now?" Oh no, we're after midnight in Germany, so boom, there we go. Thank you. You're among the first then. Oh, Glenn, you're just lurking. I can't believe that will last for long. There you go, Dave. Volunteering is easy. It's nice to do last year while you were in the area. Boom, there you go. To get an update. Well, it's been out of print now, and they're just printing extra copy. I mean, it's just on sale. They're remaindering the copies. There you go. Let's see. How are we coming here on the chat, gang? Well, this is something to kind of unload on us here late in the show, Mona, but I get the idea. Stuck on the island with Connor Tenier game. One author, all their work. One musician, all their work. One dessert, all of it. One cuisine. What would I choose? Oh, Mona, oh gosh. I can't think of these things like this. I'll wind up spending so much time thinking of this, and I wish I had the hour back. I don't have quick answers for most of these kind of questions. But that's what you mean by the James Lipton impersonation. There you go. Well, Michael, I hope you eventually learn something. Hope you're navigating your current world, because all we do is live in the past, push forward. My favorite line of modern Star Trek, and amazingly, it's from Discovery. And I talked about this was back when Life Support Live was going, and I told Ali this, and I think I did a Tuesday topic here. My favorite line, and by the way, Mona, I wanted to say, I didn't mean to brush you off. I can't stop it. If I stop to think about this, it would not be scintillating video. But poke me about this, and I'll try to come up with something. Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, my favorite line in all of modern Trek, and one that I always point to and say, look, that came from Discovery, was Admiral Vance's line when he's negotiating with the Emerald Chain, and she says, don't bring up the past. It was perfect metaphor for current events in the United States politics. But he said, she's like, ignore the past. We're moving into the future. That's the past. This is the future. And he said, the past is the only light by which we can illuminate the future. And I was like, oh my God, for the moment, yes. And for all time, yes. It's a great Star Trek line. Best Star Trek line of that. There you go. Animals. Yes. Big band jazz was integrated in the 30s. Benny Goodman. Absolutely. Well, he was yeah. And then the crap of when they travel in the South. And it was like the sports like Jackie Robinson in baseball, having to still integrate until somebody would take a stand. I don't think we have the time, Christoph. Oh, see, you're just popping these answers off. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Are we getting there? Hi, May. It's good to see you. Oh, Ian. I do vaguely remember this. And yeah, no offense there. No offense, buddy. We mentioned you were in Star Trek Continues as Bones McCoy. Did you enjoy the series as I looked at? I really enjoyed working on Continues. I did. I just wish I'd had more time for it and more time to prep for it. And I wish I hadn't underestimated it when I jumped in on 3 weeks' notice. Yeah. And by the way, everybody, since I've got you here, 3 days on the 20th, it's DeForest Kelley's 103rd birthday. I always mark it every year. Your English teacher was a Trekkie too. Well, my science teacher in the 9th grade was a Trekkie, and she's the initial incident. That's one thing I can say. She was the spark that got me here. She had a Star Trek bag from the Dusseldorf event. Oh, the Star Trek World Tour. Yeah, that was 98, right? Set us up for the Vienna stop of the World Tour, and then it didn't happen after that. All right, looking for the first duty of every Starfleet officer is to the truth. Absolutely. Speaking of Dr. Ali, when will we have more LSL? Well, not full scale. No one's talking about a return to the weekly show, but we're always looking to try to have a special event of some kind, live or virtual. So hang on. We're actually trying to find something. So all you lifers out there, hang on. It will be a special. End of the chat. Yep. There we go. Hey, everybody. That seems as good a place to end it there as always. Yay. So I will just say thanks for being with us today. You got me off on a tangent there. So if that's the new drinking game, then good on you. Meanwhile, can we just wrap up and say that the hiatus time is going to be with us for another month. So whatever you're doing, again, the Nichelle Nichols Foundation's first event is this Saturday, the 21st at 10 Pacific, 1 Eastern, 6 p.m. UK time, 7 Central Europe. Check it out on our YouTube, NichelleNichols.Foundation. You can also get to our YouTube channel. That's where it'll be live. The great Bonnie Gordon is going to talk to author Angela Dalton, making sure I had her right, versus the illustrator. That's all going to be happening for a while. Her new book about Nichelle Nichols and Uhura and Star Trek and racial justice in America. The kids' book. Hopefully we can get into all libraries around the United States, I would hope. That'll be a newsmaker if something goes cockeyed on that. That's the first event from the Nichelle Nichols Foundation. I'm so thrilled to see things get it, even in the baby steps days. But you may be doing anything else. The screenings, Dr. Dave shared his. I'm almost sure there'll be one in New York at some point. But wherever you are, if you're having a big screening, if you're in your home, maybe look around the folks that you've always thought this is a good time. You can take a breather and have the energy to not only refresh yourself, but share with somebody else. And sure, everybody has their opinions about what entry-level point to make. It could be Star Trek in general. It could be for the characters of Picard, the next gen crew, whatever it is. I'm just saying, be mindful that one of the things you can do with this hurry up and wait time right now is put it to good use. And that includes still making a donation to the Trek Talks 2 campaign while the doors are still open on those donation links. I think they'll be up for at least a couple more days, no matter when you see this. And yes, there you go. Thanks to everybody for being with us today. It's going to be a fun, speaking of that, we're coming down to the end of the season. Hopefully we've got some big episodes of the Trek Files planned for you. We're also coming up, will you believe this? Next week is the 5th anniversary of the debut of the Trek Files. Am I right? Yes, 2018. 2018. And then we've got our season premiere just soon after that. And then we'll be off for about a month or 4 or 5 weeks. And then we'll be back. Still digging into Gene's files. Every Tuesday we're there. Facebook is the place to get the document every week. The podcast is at all the places where you catch fine podcasts. So check it out, would you please? And all the podcasts at podcast.roddenberry.com. All right. Thank you so much. My homepage, of course, is where you can get more information about that cruise, Trek, day tour of location film sites. This is around the cruise. You don't have to be on the cruise at all to be there. LarryNemecek.com will get you the main link. It'll also get you the link if you have nothing to do with the cruise. You can't get into town those days, but you want to trek anyway. You want to design your own custom day tour. We'll go to 4 sites, 2 bigs, 2 littles, and a lunch, and all the physical takeaway contents, and me supporting you. Bring whatever gear you want, your costumes. You want to take a picture in front of Starfleet Academy, Starfleet headquarters, we can do that. You want to bring your Gorn suit, we can go to Vasquez Rocks and do that too. Any of the there's close to 60 places now, thanks to the last season of Picard, and there's probably more coming in the new season, since it was shot in LA too. By the time that season is finished, I'll be adding probably another 10 or 15 sites, big and obscure as well. Everything I do comes from documentation, gang. So the call sheets, the production memos and notes, that's what all this is based on when we talk about Treks. And you get all that information too, like the 42 planets at Bronson Canyon and caves. All right. Once again, I got to thank for all this merriment and mischief. Got to thank our Patreons for helping out, getting it here. Thank you guys so much, so much. And if you too want to try out and help, it's simple, $5 or $10 a month. You can go more if you want to, and some have. But it's patreon.com/Trekland Live for a shout out. We are close to having all those interviews up in the past where I can get them up to you finally, as I've been promising for ages. And of course, everywhere across the socials, on Twitter and Mastodon, Larry Nemecek, Larry Nemecek's Trekland, here on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. Please like and subscribe. It's a lot of fun stuff there. And it's portal47.net to jump in with Portal 47, like the mini-con all year long, where no savvy fan has gone before. And I think we've got a few portales. In fact, we've got some new portales here in the chat that could vouch for that. All right. So there you go. Another lovely Tuesday, another Trekland Tuesdays live. Thank you all for joining us and being here with us. We've been at this for, it'll be 6 years in a few months from the primitive days. 5 years since the beginning of the Trek Files. That's coming next week with some special stuff. Today, this week, is Dave Blass from Picard's amazing. They have amazing the artworks there with a cool topic. So check that out too. Once again, everybody, just, don't get cocky, kid. I'm crossing the streams there. But please stay healthy, do all the things. Stay woke, check your sources, and trek well, everybody.